Hi, Filipina wife abroad here. Welcome back. Americans are known for their strong, liberated mind and emotion. I see and deal with it every day. They're pretty direct and never hold back, even in their physical relationship, which doesn't surprise or shock Filipinos in general because they're prepared for it mentally. So if you're dating one right now, it's advantage. But I'm not saying all, but most Filipinas are. But what happens, you think, if a Filipina is confronted with an open marriage request from her husband? Well, let's find out because this is a subject of today's vlog, which has several twists and turns as it unfolds. This story involves a 35-year-old American male high school teacher and his 28-year-old Filipino wife. The teacher met a Filipina on a well known dating app. He was 30 years old when they met, and she was 23. The Filipina had just finished her college and had just started her first job in hotel management. The teacher had summer offs and decided to visit her in the Philippines for several weeks. And they quickly fell in love, and during his visit, he asked her to marry him. She agreed, and when he got back to the US, he processed the K1 visa, and in less than a year, she made it to the US and started setting up home for her and her husband. She quickly realized that teachers don't make much money in the US, so she got a job working at a large online retail warehouse, to cover up the bills. She was thrilled with this good fortune. After being in the US about a year, she discovered that she was pregnant. To her, starting a family with American was a dream come true, so she enjoyed every minute of her pregnancy. After the baby was born, her mother in law agreed to help babysit so she could go back to work since money was tight. As with most new mothers, the Filipina focused most of her energy on the baby, and what little energy she'd left, she needed to work. Meanwhile, during the pregnancy, the husband had mixed feelings about a baby and was not very excited about the changes coming up in his life. While the man was happy once the baby was born, he was incredibly disappointed with the amount of attention that his wife showed him. When she wasn't working or taking care of the baby, she was too tired to show him any affection. The Filipino found her husband's overall attitude to be a bit selfish and lacking in empathy. Weeks went by, the husband was spending increasing amount of time with his coworkers and volunteering for every special event the school had. This created friction in the house, but the Filipina assumed that it was just a normal part of life when you bring a newborn into the family. This is where the twist to the story begins. One evening after the baby had been put to bed, the husband told his wife they needed to talk. He told his wife that he loved her and he wanted to continue building a life together. Then he said the unimaginable. He told his wife that his needs were not being met at home and he wanted to open the marriage. This Filipina had never been exposed to this term or concept. She had no idea what he meant and had to ask him to explain this request. He told his wife an open marriage or polyamory is when both parties could engage in sexual activities with other people while still being in a committed and loving marriage. This completely freaked the Filipina out. She loved her husband, and the thought of him having sex with other women angered her. And the thought of her having sex with other men disgusted her. She reached out to the broader Filipino community and asking for advice. As you would expect, most of the feedback involved divorcing the man right away. But she just wasn't ready to take that step yet. She wasn't sure if he was serious or he was only doing this to get her attention. She was also getting close to obtaining her citizenship, and she wanted to make sure the process was complete before deciding what else they're going to do in their marriage. What she didn't know is that in the United States, When someone asks to open up a relationship, they almost always have an affair partner already. So a few weeks went by. The Filipina and her husband never discussed this open marriage. The Filipina was trying to be more attentive to her husband and was in denial that her husband was actually sleeping with another woman. But that changed one night at a high school basketball game that the wife attended with her husband. She discovered that the school had a new Filipina teacher recently immigrated. Her husband invited a new teacher to sit with them, and it was obvious to the wife that the two of them had formed a close relationship. So when they got home from the game, the wife confronted her husband, who reminded her that they agreed to have an open marriage and that he hadn't done anything to embarrass her in public. He also told her that if she wanted to find someone for herself, that he would support her and not be judgmental. This confused the Filipina, who spent the next several days in Dampo or sulking and crying. She didn't want to break up her family, but she knew she couldn't live like this. She decided that after she got her citizenship, that she would most likely leave her husband. Now the Filipina was absolutely adorable, friendly, and very kind. The people at her work enjoyed being around her, and she made friends easily. As she was feeling lonely and isolated from her husband, she started noticing how much attention other men gave her. She worked closely with one gentleman aged 30, and he referred to her as his work wife, and she referred to him as her work husband. They worked as a pair, would spend their breaks and lunches together. And she confided in him the problems that she was having at home. He spent several months reassuring her that she was a wonderful person and showering her with attention. Over time, her feelings grew stronger for her coworker or work husband. And eventually, those feelings became physical. And after work, the two would spend time together before going to their separate homes. Once she got her citizenship, she made a decision. She decided to leave her teacher husband and move in with her work husband, who had agreed to help raise a child. And I don't know what happened to the husband after the divorce, but I do know the Filipina and her new boyfriend continue as a pair, and neither of them is in a rush to get married. I wanted to share this story because I've heard similar situations happening multiple times. Some men marry Filipinos thinking that they'll accept almost any situation. They believe they can treat their wives disrespectfully and expect everything to be okay. It's been my experience that just isn't true. While Filipinos are accommodating, they're not foolish and will eventually do what's necessary when they find themselves in a bad relationship. At its core, this story is about karma. The Filipina found somebody that accepted her for who she was and made her feel good about herself. She's much happier now than at any time in her marriage. Her ex husband lost his family, lost much of his savings, damaged his reputation in school, and a significant amount of his income now goes to paying child support. Amen. So the school administrator was not too happy with the gossips around his teachers and did not renew the Filipino teacher's contract for the following year. And I'm told that the Filipino teacher returned to the Philippines when she lost her job. So, guys, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you like our story today. And please share your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll be back again next week with another interesting video. Bye, guys.